Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all over the world. Dobson777a here. Well, it's another wonderful Saturday. I'm sorry I missed you guys last weekend. I normally try to get a live stream in, but it just did not work out. A lot of things going on right now. We had some sleet today, this morning, actually. It was 45 degrees, which was really weird. And I went out there, I was getting some wood off the wood rack and noticed, what the heck is that? It was making a strange noise as it was coming through the leaves in the tree, and hadn't really seen that before. But it was very light. It almost looked like snow, but you could tell it was falling faster than like snowflakes. But that was this morning, and it didn't do it long enough to where. And of course, the ground was warm, so it just melted right away. But I thought, boy, that was really strange. A little bit of sleet. So, Mark, how's it going? Edgewater, Greg Steinberg, excuse me, JT Coin Rings. We're blessed to have him here. So I wanted to tell you, it was kind of interesting. I've had to do some shopping for an air conditioner for one of my rental properties. And fortunately, we were going through the wintertime. We had a pretty cold winter, and some of the tenants were complaining about their electric bills. But remember, I told you before, when it gets super cold, these heat pumps don't work. You're on heat strips only. So doggone air conditioners, 3-ton, typically around $5,000. I got quotes from all the big guys here lately. Edgewater would understand what I'm talking about here. But in any event, I finally found someone, since it's a rental property, I was looking for like one of these Lennox or Goodman, and I finally found somebody that had a Goodman. He's installing on Monday, and I think it's like $3,600, which was a really good deal compared to the rest of these guys. Some of the people I've been dealing with for years. But again, I don't need one of these high-end. A lot of these off-brand things are made by the big companies on the same line. And sometimes you can get a scratch and dent, and that's what I'm always looking for. So I don't know if you guys had noticed that or known about that, but I've done that on even my own house before. Like before I sold it, I didn't want to go spend $5,000 or $7,000 for an air conditioner. So we got Mr. Action, we got DW. So did you guys hear about Tesla? Consumer Reports has just smashed them. I was going to do an article this week or a video about this and some other top news, just never got around to it. But some of this is coming home to roost. They actually were kind of calling the company fraudulent in their reporting of what the mileage should be. And most of it, I think, goes back to the fact that they had a problem when they were fully charging the batteries. The batteries were overheating, and some of them were catching fire. So they've made it now where you can only charge them, I'm going to pick a number, 75 or 80% or something now. And so what happens is you actually do not get the range that was forecasted by the EPA and everybody else anymore. And they're falling behind compared to these other companies who are actually reporting what their batteries are capable of. So I thought you'd like to know that. And then obviously a lot of people are now seeing that in cold weather, these batteries just really just don't have the same charge at cold temperature. And so you end up really getting some range anxiety that's happening here. And obviously, like in Texas, when you don't have power, your electric car is almost worthless. So anyways, this has been quite interesting for the electric car industry for people to see the limitations. And then lastly, on the electric cars, and I'll drop this unless people have questions, but I saw an article that said that the new Ford Mustang Mach-E is actually stealing a pretty sizable amount of market share from Tesla. It was approaching 20%. I forget what the exact number was off the top of my head. Again, I've got that article saved, and I was going to do a video on that. But I thought, a lot of these other big names are getting into this big time, and they're offering some things that are very competitive. And so we'll see how it works out. ODMMC is in the house. What about this Dr. Seuss stuff, guys? Can you believe that they're trying to cancel Dr. Seuss? And I loved the videos where they were going back showing like the Obamas and everybody else that were reading Dr. Seuss, and now they're like, you know, saying, sorry, we read it, we didn't know any better. You know, they don't really have any rhyme or reason for cancellation anymore. They're just trying to cancel almost everything. Now, I saw that the Senate approved the stimulus, but it's got to go back to the House for some kind of reconciliation. I got to drink some tea. It's late at night, folks. This is late for me. I'm usually settling in, watching a little comedy or something before I go to sleep. So let me drink a little tea here. That's sweet tea, too. That'll give me a double kick. So, got to wait for the House to do its thing, and then probably, maybe in a week or so, maybe. Anybody know? Week or so, you might see some stimulus money flowing in. I also found a video that I'm hoping to share with you parts of it where one of the senators laid out the fact that even the last stimulus that was approved by the Senate has not even been spent, a large percentage of it. So, folks, I'm telling you right now, there's a comment that I read from one of the YouTube videos that I just thought was outstanding, that we got this inflationary depression coming. And I've been talking to my contractors, and they are just shocked at the price of lumber. You know, plywood, 2x4s, 2x6s, 4x4s. They are absolutely shocked. And I'm going to tell you right now, we have construction galore going on in this area, apartment complexes, houses, all kinds of stuff. And I tell you, this is amazing because we probably have doubled in price in the last year and a half. And this is the beginning of this inflation that is being unleashed because of a lot of this money. And the smart people, this is going to go even faster because the smart people are going to realize eventually. Now, the people on this channel are the really smart people, but some of the other smart people are going to start realizing, holy crap, I need to get some protection. Remember, we're talking currency insurance when you have these precious metals and everything. So you need to have your currency insurance, because I'm telling you, life is going to get really tough. And I don't think a lot of people have a clue about what is coming. This is going to be catastrophic for the majority of the folks. Yeah, so Oat says, famine coming in hot as politics goes into stupid. Romans were arguing whether angles we male or female before the final blow, Western Rome. Yeah. So I am been working on my gardens. I got to get some videos because I noticed I was out there the other day and my doggone garlic is growing like crazy. And my onions are starting to pop now, so they're ready for the high nitrogen. So I got to hit them hard with some high nitrogen, doing that tomorrow. And I've already fertilized my azaleas and I'm doing my roses. I got the fertilizer for that. And we are, even though we're going to like 30 or something tonight, it has been very, very moderate temperature. In fact, I was out there the other day in shorts and no shirt. In fact, I even wear socks because I was trying to get rid of my, I don't know how many people, you get the sock tan line. And so I was trying to get rid of that before we get into boating season. So I've got, been trying to get my boat ready, got it all cleaned up. And I think I'm going to redo the lettering and everything on there. So I'm going to go to one of these sign places and have them make me a really nice vinyl lettering and everything for my boat. The witness is in the house. All right, let me read this comment here. See if I can get to this. All right, so this was by some guy named 30 Pieces of Silver. What's coming is so monstrous that most people can't even comprehend it. And even those who could comprehend it don't want to because it seems so outrageous that they could never mention it in public without all the sheep laughing at them. But it's mathematically inescapable that we will have a crisis. And then, with just a little understanding of politics and human nature, it's easy to extrapolate this to its logical conclusion. A debt crisis is guaranteed. We have a deflationary economic model where ever more goods are produced, thus increasing supply, which would naturally lower prices. But we paired that with an inflationary monetary system where, thanks to creating all money as debt with interest attached, excuse me, we require an ever expanding, i.e., inflationary monetary system. You simply cannot pair those two systems together forever. Eventually, one or both will break. Now, adding the politics and human nature aspect when a crisis comes, it's easy to see that the people will inevitably choose to print more money to deal with it, like they're doing right now. That's been proven throughout human history, so the eventual crisis will be inflationary. There will be cycles from deflation to inflation and back again, but the grand finale will be inflationary because if it ever looked like it might be the deflationary route, the people will just print more again. So if the big one is inflationary, then we know how this plays out. It's a loss of faith in currency, and given how interconnected the world is, it won't just be a loss of faith in one currency, but all currencies. Remember, they're all fiat currencies. There's not anybody using real money in any of these countries. We're heading for a simultaneous global hyperinflationary collapse. And when that happens, it won't just be a monetary phenomenon. It will encompass all aspects of life, from food and energy to supply chains to geopolitics and war, and ultimately to the role of money and currency in everyone's lives. And since the dollar is currently on top of the global mountain, those using dollars have the most to lose. America will be hit the hardest of all, which will set in motion events around the globe as the global hegemon dies. And make no mistake about it, America will die. You can't have a nation of such radical differences, racially, politically, culturally, linguistically, guns, abortion, you name it, that will survive as one cohesive unit during such a massive crisis. The U.S. will split apart probably into numerous pieces. And in the fact that so many of its citizens are psychotropic medications with little to no useful skills outside of service sector economy, which no longer exist, toss in 200 million firearms and the world's second largest nuclear arsenal, and well, it's pretty easy to see this won't end peacefully. So anyways, this kind of goes on and on, but I want you to really think about this. Has really no precedence. We haven't seen this before, except for in individual countries. The Weimar hyperinflation. We've seen Venezuela. We've seen a lot of different things like that. They're in the history books, folks. But we haven't seen it where like all of the currencies go down pretty much simultaneously. So this is going to be catastrophic. I'm not exactly in 100% agreement that America is going to be hit the worst. We got a lot of smart people, and I got a feeling they'll have something up their sleeves. But you plan for the worst and hope for the best. So how much time do we have? Nobody knows that answer. Nobody ever will know that answer. So Ode MMC is on top of the earth is pissed. Modern tech is fragile. We have non-tech backup, or at least 90s tech backup manual and basic electric tools, etc. So I've been talking about, having worked in the high-tech industry for 35 years plus, actually 37 plus, I recognize that most of this stuff, to 99% of the people, is magic. They have no clue how any of this stuff works. I don't even think majority of people even know how to change a tire or any basic part on their vehicle anymore. I just think that they don't have a clue. And they don't know how to do just the most. I mean, I don't even think most people even know how to cook anymore. They just go buy, food that's already done. So I think this is going to be quite catastrophic when this happens. I mean, people don't know how to grow their own food. I mean, I've gone over and over and over on all this stuff before. It's like, good grief. If you're just starting, you have a long long list of things that you have to learn to prepare for this. Yeah, the manual can opener is the way to go. Shoot, even having some canned food in your pantry. I've shown things about, simple things that you should have, but I'm telling you, canned foods, good grief. There's hardly anything in there. Got to get those big monster cans. We used to go to Gordon Food Services and buy the, like the restaurant size cans of things, because these little cans, man, you ever dump a can of green beans? I mean, they used to be 16 ounces. Now I think they're 14 ounces or less. And you dump it out in a pan. It's like, I used to look at my wife and say, what are you going to eat? You'd have to actually dump like 3 cans in to even have something to eat. Same thing with corn and everything else. These things are so dinky because that's the food inflation that they're hiding. There was another anti-money laundering laws that Trump had pushed before he left office. And there was an article talking about how Bitcoin might get caught up in that thing. So that's another topic maybe for this week, if I can sit down and put that together. I don't know if you've had a chance. And there was an article that somebody wrote about grand solar minimum. And he says, here's some of the latest information from NASA. And they're saying this next solar maximum, we go through a solar minimum and a maximum every, I always get this wrong, say 11 or 12 years. And they said this next one's going to be even lower than the last one, which typically means lower sunspots equates to less energy from the sun, which indicates substantial cooling for perhaps the next 40 to 50 years. And, talking about food, folks, harder to grow food in a much colder climate. It's going to be a problem. Have you ever thought about why we had all these rioting in the big cities and everything? I mean, doesn't it seem like they're trying to push people out of the big cities? And, they're probably trying to prepare people to, get elsewhere where they can potentially survive. But it almost seems like they're intentionally killing these cities. You'd like to look at it and go, no, it's just incompetent leadership. But it almost seems like, everybody works for somebody. And I think they're all being told, we got to get this thing, got to get people out of here, because I talked about like 2 years ago, I think the cities are going to be killing zones. And it's kind of interesting how that's worked out. Cities are not self-sufficient. Got to spread people out across the country into areas where they actually have some land to be able to survive, some chickens, some rabbits, some, carrots, whatever that you can grow. Man, I'll tell you, I think everybody's waking up just from these cold fronts pushing all the way down through Mexico, down through Texas and Mexico. And that's waking people up about how they can't be reliant on utilities and everything. As I've been saying for 2 years, I said, look, I'm showing you what I'm doing. I'm preparing. I'm trying to get redundancies. Single point failures are going to kill you. And that's kind of what happened in Texas. Utilities couldn't keep up with what was happening, and you're on your own. Yeah, that's pretty cool, Richard. It's called the American Dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. George Carlin. So I haven't looked at the premiums for metals in a while, so I'm not sure where we're at on that. I think there's still quite a bit of shortages, at least of the manufactured coins, the U.S. Mint, such. I haven't gone off and tried to look at some good delivery bars or anything. Oh, okay. So Silver Liners brought up something. So Florida, like over a month ago, says we're open for business, and they're telling everybody just get to work. No more fooling around. And then Texas the other day says, yeah, we're doing the same thing. And I even think I heard Massachusetts and Democrat uh, stronghold was opening up. So I think everybody's finally saying enough of this stuff, but we'll see. I'm going to tell you right now, if these material costs continue the way they are, that's going to cause a collapse, because you think about people budgeted to build these houses and apartment complexes at certain material costs. And if all of a sudden the material costs are double, that's going to put a squeeze on some of these companies. So I'm not sure how this is going to work, but normally that leads to a collapse. And you've seen oil. Good grief. This is shooting through the roof. And so you got the dollar and oil going up, and it's going to, that's going to choke the economy as well. So do we see silver and gold going up in the near future? Normally, if people start waking up to inflation as an issue, then you might see it. But I've always struggled with this a little bit. And I'll tell you why. Things changed over the last 30 years. People are stuck in these 401ks and IRAs, and the majority of them are within the companies, the larger companies that they work for. And you cannot buy physical precious metals in the 401ks. You can only buy those, ETFs and stuff. So, if they wake up and try to do that, there's already been a lot of reports that I've seen where the ETFs are saying they can't source the metals, so their backing is a smaller and smaller percentage of the physical against the dollars, paper dollars they have. So I don't know how this is going to work, but eventually you would think this is going to bust. But I don't think there's enough people woke up yet. I really was hoping that once you reach some dollar amount for silver, probably like in the $30 range, and then maybe gold is like you bust through the 2000, then people might start jumping in. But yeah, and I know the premiums are a big problem, but the newbies don't know any better. So you never know. So silver liner, that's one of the reasons why I bought my single family homes starting in 2012, because you could not build a home. In fact, you were buying homes for half the price it would cost to build them. So that's exactly right. You got to look at and understand the value. And the way I figured out is I worked with my insurance company to figure out what the rebuild cost was. And the rebuild cost was amazingly high compared to the price I was paying for these properties. So I would say that's one way to actually determine the inherent value, is by looking at the material costs. Now there's other things you got to factor in, like one of the houses I bought was pretty old. It was like in a Brady Bunch 70s home, and so there's things about that kind of house, the really small closets and stuff like that, which isn't, what most people, if they're going to go buy a house, are looking for, but it's a perfect rental. I got to catch up on some of these things. I have seen some videos, and I don't know if I believe it or not, but there's a lot of videos say we're on like some 45-day countdown for like a reversal and significant breakout on all these precious metals. See that kind of stuff all the time. I don't know. That's kind of an interesting number, 45 days. I don't know what that comes from, except for, again, more money's coming out, and they're piling on top in these other things that they funded that they haven't spent that either. But at some point, I don't know if this is going to change the velocity of money, and that just starts ringing the inflation bell even more. We'll see. But I am so happy that I got all my roofs done on my properties, that I got everything up to date, except for I got one tenant moving out in a the end of the month, and I just got to slap some paint on the walls. Hopefully, nothing major there. That house is in pretty good shape, but everything, all the flooring, appliances, just got a few air conditioners here and there, water heaters, that kind of stuff. But I am so happy I got all this stuff done. But you guys, you're gonna have to think about this. In fact, I think it was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. I said, if you need to pull money forward, take it out of your IRAs, do whatever, get this done, because you're going to be sorry of what just getting a roof done, getting an AC, what it costs, and it's just going to get worse from here. Yeah, when money dies, that's a good one. How high do you see platinum going? I'm expecting platinum to exceed gold. Now, that just may mean that gold may fall below platinum instead of platinum jumping up. But there's been a lot of times where platinum is, well, in fact, on the Eagle, platinum is $100 and the gold Eagle is $50. So that might give you an idea. Don't know. I can never find anything written anywhere to why they actually did the face value that way. Let's see. Yeah, DW is right. There's all these rules in the COMEX that they'll just figure out a way around it. And remember, I think the government's behind all this stuff. They'll just uh, they'll just print some more dollars, do whatever. Well, yeah, there's a silver liner. Of course, there's a higher correlation between copper and silver. Remember, silver is 90% industrial, 10% currency or investing, where gold is 90% money versus industrial. So it's kind of inverted. So, yeah, silver tends to follow copper. So we'll just have to watch. Shortages on hot water tanks, air conditioning equipment here also. Okay. Yeah, I've been actually shopping for this air conditioner for a while. I just was not going to spend 5 grand for a dang air conditioner. In Florida, I had this guy. He was great. He always found all these scratch and dents, and he specialized in that. And he did all of his installs on the weekend. So he he would do like 10 installs every weekend. He was very well known. So I had him on my speed dial when we needed it. Even repairs, he did really good. I probably won't be able to sleep till 2 o'clock now that I drink iced tea at 10 o'clock at night, especially sugar water tea. I normally don't drink that, but I need a little extra. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, silver jumped up and was doing really well, and now it's still kind of holding up. I had a bunch of charts prepared yesterday. I don't know what happened. I had a whole bunch of tabs open. I was going to do a video, and then all of a sudden, my computer was doing some damn update, and I lost it all. So it really ticked me off. So and then it was getting kind of late anyway. So I was kind of thankful it happened, but at the same time, I was so ready to give a really nice presentation. Gold Silver is in the house, and he says he's enjoying every minute of it. I think platinum's time is here now. It's got to play catch up, and I think gold has fallen behind, and I got a feeling gold's going to do some catch up too. Right now, everybody's a little ticked at Powell. They're not sure what the heck he's up to. He's almost like they're. In fact, the last article I read, it's almost like they're trying to let a crisis happen so they can roll in whatever they're planning on rolling in. Look out, Bitcoin, Fedcoin might be on the way. Yield control. Yeah, 3.0. Yeah, I remember the twist. Remember that? Just like nobody knew what the heck was going on. I've had a lot of my newsletters that are saying, prepare yourself, prepare yourself. And I haven't had a chance to sit down and digest each one of their views on what you should be doing. But some of the things I've talked to you in the past was like TLT. I told you that typically in a crisis has been good as gold, and it's panned out that way. But there may be some other things we may want to look at. I know that, oh, that was the other thing I forgot to tell you. So you probably saw that Tesla bought like $1 billion of Bitcoin. And then he went on there and said, hey, look what I did. I bought all this. And next, you know, Tesla's like, I think it's dropped 20%. It's like in bear territory now. They were also added, I think, to the S&P 500. So that was probably a kiss of death. But there were several things all of a sudden that Tesla, and they're also, I think Consumer Reports no longer had the Model 3 as a buy because of reliability issues and everything. But it makes me wonder sometimes when somebody, if you're a big company, you don't want to be advertising something outside the currency of the country you live in, because they probably flipped some switches and said, well, Tesla, guess what? You're now 20% less. Government doesn't like competition. So they don't like big companies saying, hey, go put your money in Bitcoin. Well, this is, so Jared says, blows me away how many people have so much faith in the dollar and the system as a whole. You got to remember, this is called recency bias. We have had just unbelievable good times, I guess is what you would say. We've had good times for a long time. And we have some perturbations that come up, but you think about how blessed we are to live in this country. And, God, I remember when I was a kid, I was reading these things that extremely small percentage of the people in the world had refrigerators at that time. And if you had a refrigerator, you were like considered extremely wealthy compared to the rest of the folks. So, normalcy bias is the other term as well. You're right. So I sit here and I look at, and I've just always just been so appreciative of having schooling. So I was able to learn. At my time, the schooling was just more, I forget what they call the today's where you get just reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? There's charters. I think it's called charter schools. That's all they had when I was growing up, and you were challenged by the teachers and stuff. And I didn't go to private school, but it was I felt like I actually got a fairly good education. And then when I went to technical school, that was real nuts and bolts, and I enjoyed that. And you learned what you needed to know, and none of the other fluff that they throw in there now. So I'm sitting here thinking that when they talk about whether you're, what's the term they talk about when you're essential? When we go through this crash, there really is going to be essential and non-essential. And I think they're trying to figure out what that means. But you're not going to be doing underwater basket weaving and stuff in college. They're going to have to kill all that stuff up and get back to, what's really important, and get rid of all this other fluff, because there's just not going to be money. Charter and magnet schools. Yep. Yeah, anybody that's actually left the country and gone to even Europe or whatever, I mean, you feel like you're just in a third world country. There's so much here. Now, I know there's areas in the U.S. that aren't that great, but it's I didn't get any of that gender identification or any of this other crap that they're going through. And fortunately, my kids, I think, made it through relatively unscathed, probably 20 years ago. And so I think things are just really unwinding. Underwater welding, yeah. gender science. What are the other ones? I mean, there's all these bizarre things. I mean, I had friends that went to college, and I looked at some of the degrees they were doing. I'm like, what the heck? How are you going to make any money on that? But they did. They, I don't know what they did, but I've always been in the technical realm because I figured there was a little more uh, professional stuff going on, and even potentially more money. But man, you still had to bust your butt to get through. I am expecting a minimum of, and I mean, this is going to be like a staircase that you're going down. So there could be a 30% change in the value of the dollar, like overnight. So if you can imagine, what is the spot on gold? I haven't looked at it. Let's say 1700, right? Gold would go to 2210 overnight. And silver, whatever silver is, $27 times 30%. That would be $35 overnight. And you look at everything. Bread is all of a sudden, 30% more. Milk, some things are even more, Gasoline. I mean, have you noticed gasoline? I mean, I bet you we're close to 260 here. I know California is much worse, but 260 times 30%, you'd be up to 338 overnight. So it's going to be something that, and that could be one of many type jumps that all of a sudden people are going to go, what the heck happened? You're not going to be prepared. Oh, cool. He's got 2 kids in high school now. It's a challenge for them being conservative. Man, I'm going to tell you, the toughest time in my life was when the dang kids were driving and they were starting college. And oh my God, the costs were just for insurance and everything was just astronomical. I felt like I had got a massive pay raise when they finally had moved out. And you're already up to $3 a gallon. Corolla was in Serbia, Yugoslavia. Everyone had an education. Degree holders were literally sweeping the streets with a broom for a living. Man, if you go read the stories about Venezuela, same problem. Parabuilding is in the house. I think I need to read some names off here. Okay. Start up here. Eminem, Gold Silver, Jared Payne, Jay Ward, ODMMC mentioned him, DW mentioned him, Silver Liner, Jim Richter got his dollar to bed. Corolla AE86, Parabuilding. I think I caught everybody caught up. $3.50 a gallon in Oregon. Good golly, Miss Molly. Is one of these states, they have a lot of the E85 up there that they push everybody. I'm curious if that's one of the states or not. 235 is not bad. I mean, you think about it, before the election, it was like $1.80. Look, I mean, here it was. Now it's like 250, 260. So that's a big jump. To the moon, folks. Now, I will tell you this. The profitability of the miners are going to go down with fuel costs. So they're either going to have to raise prices or you're going to see some hits on the miners. So I got a feeling that prices are going to go up just to compensate for fuel costs. And, if the economy starts getting overheated, labor cost starts happening too. Jay Ward's talking about leaders. 270 in Massachusetts. Now we got 57 people on here. 58. We're going to hit 60 in a second. But we only have 25 likes. Anyways, I think we'll just wait. I think things are going to turn around. We'll see. I have a feeling just issuing those checks. So this time it's $1,400 per person. They did put a, what do you call it? They put a means testing on the thing. So they rolled it back a little bit. So if you make a little bit too much money, it starts paring back, if not completely eliminates your stimulus check. Carbon tax coming. That's wonderful. Yeah, Corolla, they call that shrinkflation. That's when they shrink the canned goods and they, remember on the like peanut butter jars, they put like a dimple on the bottom of it. So it makes it look like the jar is the same as what you've been buying, but they put the dome on the bottom to where you don't have as much in there. I do not know what the Fed is going to do. I really don't. Everything that I've been watching and tend to believe history, it tends to repeat itself. Or doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. It typically is going to be print to infinity. And so some of the things that I talked about, I think it was the end of last year, that some of the stimulus that they were doing, this is just the beginning. And it's just going to, the beginning is just the ripples. Wait till you see the tidal wave of what they're going to do. Because they said, this is the definition of insanity. They keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. So they're just going to do it bigger. So they go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually they might be sending you $100,000 per person, but it won't matter because it'll be the same as $1,000 checks. So that's likely what's coming, and it's going to be disastrous. So I haven't done the pitchfork chart in a little bit over a week. I did one, I think it was the week before last. So I think I mentioned earlier, I actually had my charts all set up last night, and I don't know exactly what happened, but next thing I look up and all my tabs were gone, because I usually do my research and I will bring up like articles, and I'll just have them all lined up so I can just click from one to the next to the next. And I had several charts already planned out. And next, I look up there and my tabs were gone. And I go, what the heck happened? So I don't know if I kind of had a reset or like a computer thing or something. I'm not sure. It was frustrating, but it was late and I wasn't going to go try to recreate everything again. So I decided I'd wait till tonight, get my video in, and then see if I have some time tomorrow. Wow, $4.72 a gallon in Canada. Now remember, 2019, so ODMMC is talking about that they want to cover their shorts. Remember, November 2019, I think it was May 29th. I might be off a day or two, but all of a sudden, gold took off like crazy. And the miners, lagged a little bit. And then, it took a little while before silver started moving a little bit. And then platinum now, like a year and a half later, started moving. But it'd be interesting if we kind of repeat this year where somewhere around the end of May, and that's kind of within this 45-day thing that I'm hearing about, we might see a tremendous thing. We'll see. I have been working like crazy, also trying to get, while the weather, I mean, God, I love these 45-degree days. I'm outside. I was cutting up, those logs into rounds, and then I was splitting the wood and then stacking it. And I've been trying to fill up um, my bins again because you want to do this when it's cool. You don't want to be out there when it's 80, 90 degrees doing this stuff. That's really miserable when sweat's just pouring off of you. But I try to get all this heavy duty hard work stuff done when it's cooler. $6 per gallon in Spain. Holy crap. Yeah, that's why you have these little dinky cars over there, because people just don't want to spend that amount for fuel. That's amazing. But Dave Davies, if you go look at the taxes, what's the taxes on the thing? It's got to be tremendous taxes. I saw Japan, and I'm not going to have the date right, but they said that they're going to not allow any internal combustion engines sold by 2030 or 2035 or something. And I'm telling you, that's just around the corner. And I've heard the same thing for like California, and we're probably going to hear other states. So I think eventually we're going to all be forced to these electric vehicles. Amen. If you ever watch, there's this guy named Scotty. I forget what his start your engines. He was talking about these electric vehicles, like the compressors are electric for the air conditioning and everything, and they are incredibly expensive and uh, unfortunately fairly high failure rates. So they're having some reliability issues because they've got chips and everything in them versus just real simple belt driven stuff that you have on um, your normal internal combustion engine. So there's some problems. Yeah, Scotty Kilmer, thank you. I like his channel. There's some of the stuff. There's obviously a lot of things he writes about just trying to grab headlines, but he's an interesting person to kind of listen to. So Silverliner, I have actually done quite a bit of research. They're a lot of the data is coming in on fleet vehicles, and they are finding tremendously lower operating costs, at least over the first 3 to 5 years. So they're noticing that, one, you don't have all the oil changes, you don't have any of this other stuff, and the doggone things are really working great for like governments. So I don't know, but I did something a little while ago talking about this. You gotta look a little farther out, 10, 12 years, but we'll have to wait and see. I think once the batteries improve and we get past these, you know, 10 to 12-year range, when the batteries really just start going kaput, they have, less and less mileage available to them. Yeah, well, it depends on where you live. Electricity is extremely cheap here where I live, and especially if you can supplement with the solar for charging and everything during the day. Like me, I'm retired, so you're not sitting in a parking lot somewhere at work. You can actually be charging your thing mostly during the day, free. Like I try to do my laundry, you know, when the sun's out, because I got free electricity to do my laundry with the dryer and everything. Hydrogen is an interesting concept. If we could actually have hydrogen generators at our house, like for instance, using my solar when I have excess power generated, I could be generating hydrogen that could feed my car. I think that would be a great idea. Yeah, our grid is not set up. And by the way, think about this. Most people don't have a spot like an apartment complex, or a lot of homes don't have garages. They're parked out on the street. That doesn't do you any good. You can't, I mean, I guess you're going to run a cord all the way out to your car. That's not cool. So electric cars aren't going to work in every single application unless they have, these self-driving cars where they're just running around all day long and you just, kind of like rent it for like you would a taxi. Yeah, I know that there was a lot of uh, problems with the grid in Texas, and depending on what type of rate structure you were doing, people had outrageously expensive electric bills. And so I don't know. I didn't see the exact that article you're talking about. What it would cost to charge a Tesla, but remember the doggone there's significant range reduction in cold weather with these batteries. So I don't know. Let's say you had, I'm just going to pick a number, 200-mile range under, optimal conditions, maybe 70 degrees. If it's 20 degrees out, you likely had 90 miles or something you could go. Some ridiculously significant reduction. And that's probably not running with a heater and everything else either. Yeah, but hydrogen would be great, kind of like the electric vehicle thing here, where, if you're just doing around town, and again, if there was, I've looked at it, whether you could generate your own hydrogen yourself. The biggest problem is you have to have a compressor to store it like you would propane, and then you could, fuel your car. But I don't know if some point if we're just going to have propane tanks, set up like outside your house, and you could just have somebody bring hydrogen to fill your tank at some point. But I don't think that's ready for prime time. 60% for lithium in the cold. Okay. Yeah, but if you start with a Tesla where it only charges to 75 or 80%, and then you get 60% of that, it's like you're starting to get into serious range anxiety. My local Ford dealership, I heard from a friend, actually has one of those Tesla Mach E, not Tesla. Geez, can you hear what I said? Ford Mustang Mach E's, the electric vehicle, and I want to go up there and see it. I like looking at new technology. I think it's interesting. Just like the truck, I decided to do the um, twin turbo, um, what the heck do they call it? EcoBoost. And man, I have been happy with that thing. That thing I got like 57,000 miles, and I really haven't had any problems with it. And the mileage on it is way better than what I had with my Nissan Titan. So now they've got a power boost, they call it. Ford's come out for 2021, and that's a hybrid truck that's supposed to go where, my Titan was like 14 miles per gallon, my EcoBoost was say 18, and now the power boost is supposed to be like 24. So I'm kind of curious if if it would if it really would get that range. But even, going from 18 to 22 is a huge improvement than kind of like what I did from my Titan to the aluminum body Ford. So I think things are coming along. I love having a truck. The truck is fantastic, especially with the stuff I'm hauling all the time. Absolutely love it. $900 to charge a Tesla in Texas during the storm. That's a lot of money, folks. For Oh, so you got tons of power with the power boost. Yeah, there's been some good reviews on it. Ford seems to really do a good job on engineering, so we'll see how that works out. I like all the new technologies. I've been reading a lot to try to figure out where we're going with this. I still think the hybrid is the way to go rather than full electric. You just got to realize if you get an electric, that's just an in town, 150-mile round trip type thing. But you got to have gasoline to go like from Georgia to Florida or from Georgia to Texas or California or whatever. Yeah, 1.5 liter turbo in Europe is a big engine. That's interesting. Mine's a 2.7 liter, I think, for the truck. They had a 3.6. Everybody said I should have got, but tell you the truth, this thing runs like a scalded dog. That aluminum body thing, that thing is fast. It's so light. Yeah, I forget what the torque was on the Mustang EcoBoost HPP. It was like 332 horsepower, and I forget what the torque was, but that is a blazing fast Mustang. In my truck, I'm telling you, I can do anything with that the Titan would. Now, I will tell you, when I was towing some stuff going down the road from Florida to Georgia, I would rather have something heavy behind me with the Titan than I did this aluminum body truck, because you could feel it on the heavier stuff, even though it's got a significant range, a significant towing capacity. It just, if you had a vehicle that weighed more, it actually, it felt safer. He's got a Hellcat. Yeah, it'd be funny. Elon's, he might be stuck with $1 billion of Bitcoin, and you're not going to be able to unload it. So DW has solar panels, and his electrical bill was $45 last month. So I don't remember what my last bill was. I think I told you guys I had $80 here recently, but I don't remember what the last bill was. It might have been $100, but I have been, like I said, during the winter, I'm burning wood and I'm retired, and I keep like late at night, I went down there and fired up my lower wood stove. The house was comfortable all day, like 74 degrees. It was beautiful. And at night, I fire up the wood stoves, and it might crank it up to 77, 78 degrees in the middle of the house, not the ends like where the bedrooms are. And those are still like 69, 70 degrees. And it makes it very comfortable for sleeping. So I'm very happy with, this is the first year where all I'm doing is I'm running the fan in the AC to circulate the heat from downstairs to upstairs and all the rest of the house. And it really has worked fantastic. It takes time to figure out how to balance the whole thing out and get it so you understand. Like sometimes, like upstairs, I just don't need to build a really big fire. I do the big fire downstairs, and I just do a small fire upstairs. Unless it's in the 20s, then I got to be running both of them full bore. Yeah, Jay, my system does that. Any excess power that I have is sold back to the power company, and they pay me some amount. It's not a lot, but they pay me some amount. Yeah, silver liner. The problem with those dang diesels, because I looked at getting a diesel. I thought, man, that thing would last forever, all this stuff. But the problem is you got to get that DEF stuff, and that DEF stuff is expensive as all get out. So you're already paying more for diesel to begin with. Then you got to add that DEF on top of it. I haven't figured out what the actual difference is, but man, I'm telling you that that adds up. I have a catalytic converter in my downstairs wood stove, and I'm planning on replacing the one upstairs with the same thing. So I don't know if they could tell you you can't burn wood if you have a catalytic converter, because it's only like the first few minutes when you're starting up that you actually even notice any smoke. That catalytic converter really burns everything. Oh, he's got a pre-def unit. Okay. Nice. God, I've seen a lot of videos where that DEF stuff fails and the dealers want to charge you a fortune. So there's a lot of videos showing you how to clean up your things so you don't have to replace the parts. You just clean them up. I like watching a lot of the automotive videos. I learn a lot. Well, folks, we're at an hour. I can't believe how fast that went. We got only 37 likes and currently 48 people watching. That was a pretty good amount of people tonight. So please hit the like button real quick before I close this thing out. It really helps support the channel. And I'll try to get some charts to you in the next couple days. Kind of waiting to see how Monday opens up, and I'll get some of our miners in there, see what they've been doing and all that. But just busy time for me right now. Like I said, it's time I actually need to start some seeds and get like tomato plants, everything started from seed. It just takes so long for them to germinate and then start going. So all right, I hope everybody's been treating you well. I hope you're doing well. Do the best you can. God bless.